Hello, Juno community. Welcome to another weekly news update where we bring you everything that's happening in the Juno network. And this week we have a lot of governance decisions. Juno, what's special about it is that we have a very active community governance. And especially this week, a lot is going on. So that's what we're going to cover. Let's hop straight into it. Starting with a proposal that's right now on chain, and that's for Juno to buy a stake in DAO. So exactly, Juno would be buying 10% of the DAO token supply, which would make Juno a huge investor in DAO, further align Juno and DAO, and strengthen the economic relationship between the two projects. This would obviously give Juno major voting power to shape the future of DAO, make sure that it is developed in a way that's beneficial to Juno, that brings value to Juno. And also the tokens would be vested, so there would be a protection that not all the Juno immediately gets dumped onto the market. The same, obviously, for Juno with the DAO tokens. And this brings some economic security to the two parties, while at the same time bringing financial means, finances to DAO so they can push ahead with the development a little bit quicker, a little bit better. And well, if we look at it, the Juno community is in large favor of this. So this one is likely to pass. Then moving on to the proposals that are right now for discussion up in Commonwealth, and this is very active at the moment. A lot of discussions are happening here. So the first one that we have is about clawing back unclaimed Juno into the community pool. So we're talking about the airdrop here, and tokens have been airdropped to wallets that never even use them, wallets that have been inactive since forever. And the idea is here that we would claw back those airdrop tokens and use them to the benefit of the community. There have been different ideas what one could do with them. For example, they could be airdropped to the active addresses. Obviously, that would bring the risk of further tokens being dumped onto the market. So some other ideas have been that we could use them to put them into liquidity pools and deepen the liquidity to make the price more stable. So yeah, this is up for discussion. There are a lot of different ideas how those funds could be used. Then next up, we have the proposal to burn the frozen funds of Takumi. You remember proposal 16, feels like an eternity ago. Those funds have been put into a smart contract and basically been locked in there since forever, and no one could touch them. And the idea is that, well, the proposal says it's time that we finally burn those. And we had that discussion as well on the community call. If you were not there, a little TLDR. Basically, what we said, what especially the Core One team said, is that this would bring a lot of attention, would warm this whole story up. And at this point, I think everyone knows that this decision and this whole story was very bad for Juno. And bringing this back up and discussing this again would definitely not be beneficial for Juno. So it would be better to just leave them in a smart contract until we have a real solution. And the solution that Jake actually proposed here, that he's working on developing the smart contracts for it, would be that Juno would be sold OTC, so below market price, and invested so it couldn't be dumped. And then the money that that sale would raise could then be given to Takumi. So basically, he could be bought out of those tokens, and the community, anyone could buy those at a discounted rate and have them locked up. So yeah, this is the official opinion that the Juno Core One team was sharing at the last community call. But yeah, feel free to participate as well in that discussion. Then moving on, we have this proposal from an interest to make interest group DAOs possible, to make grant spending more effective. Basically, what they're saying is that the grant spending in the past has been very bad, right? We remember the whole story with Loop, and that a lot of money got wasted, and the community got very angry about that, rightly so. And that now we have a sentiment where people don't really want to spend anymore. And obviously, it's important that Juno is still spending on the development of projects on the chain, and that we're still supporting those developers. But that spending has to be done in a better way, and that's what they are proposing, that they have a solution to do that in a better way. Currently, that has already changed, right? It's not like with the Loop anymore. So now we have the growth fund, which is a sub DAO that directs the spending and is in control. But they criticize it because they say it's still not really decentralized. It's still a centralized group of a few people that decide where the money is going. But you can make it decentralized either, because that would be too chaotic and not everyone in the community has the time to do all the due diligence on the project and so on and so forth. So they are in favor of creating a wide variety of sub-DAOs that have different interest groups. So people that have the same goal can unite and form one such an interest group sub-DAO. You can kind of imagine this like political parties. And then those political parties would kind of vote on it. And the more members such a party has, the more Juno that is with that party, the more voting power that party then has. And then if someone is looking for grant spending, they would have to negotiate with those parties to get the votes of those parties. So decentralize it a little bit more by kind of creating multiple growth sub-DAOs if you want, and have those democratically voting together if a project gets funded or not. To be honest, the whole thing is quite complicated. I struggle still to get my head around it. It's also something with NFTs and vaults where you can deposit your Juno to become member of that party, and you get some yield. So it's quite complicated. Seems like an alternative to DAO though, and decentralize the process of such spending proposals a little bit more. And they say they will develop all the contracts and all the platforms that we would need for that, and ask for 30,000 Juno to develop this. And then the last proposal that we have is the conference spending proposal, coming actually from us at the communications sub-DAO. Like representing Juno in public at those events is one of our core responsibilities. And therefore, we have been negotiating with all kinds of event organizers and picked out 6 events that we think would bring the most value to Juno to be present. And we think it is very important that Juno is present at some of those events, and that we can represent Juno, what we're building, and onboard developers and make Juno grow at those events or via those events. So having some presence there, we think is important. As I said, it's 6 events that we negotiated some great deals with, and you will have the chance to vote on each of those 6 individually. So while here on Commonwealth, it's one proposal for all, on chain, it will be 6 different proposals. And if you only like 3 of those 6 events and you think Junos will only go to 3 of those events, you can now vote yes on those 3 and no on the other 3. And basically, what the cost would cover is the sponsorship of those events. So if you want to speak there, if you want to have a booth, you usually, or all the time, you have to pay the event organizers for that. And then also the costs that the people that travel to those events for Juno to represent them, that those costs that will incur for them. If you go through the list, you see most of the time those will be the speakers. Like for example, we have here Jake, so that they get the trip to that event paid. And for all those 6 events, what we would need would be 88,000 Juno in total. As I said earlier, if you think this is too much, then you can also just vote on part of those events that you think are very important. But we at the sub-DAO think we should go to all those 6 events, because as I said, it's important that we can represent Juno, onboard new developers, and make the Juno network grow. And those events where you can meet the builders are always great opportunities to do that. So yeah, that's it for this week. As you can see, a lot of discussions are happening right now in the Juno ecosystem. We have a very, very active community governance, which is super beautiful to see. And yeah, I would just invite you to participate in those discussions. Head over to the Commonwealth Forum and leave your opinions, give feedback to the proposers, or also discuss on Twitter, join the community calls, and just be active in governance, and let your voice be heard and influence this community, because Juno is truly decentralized, and we, all of us together, we can shape the future of this network. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great week, and see you again soon. Peace out.